Hello, my name is Jack Kelly. I am a independent journalist covering all things Fulham FC, Fulham first team, Fulham under 21s, and yeah, all things Fulham. Thank you so much for having me on the channel to preview the game between Ipswich Town and Fulham tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. In terms of going to the game, covering the game in the press box, I've not done Ipswich in the press box before. I've done it in the away end a couple of times. Both wins for Fulham. 2-0 in 17-18 and 3-1 last season in the Carabao Cup. 3-1, I think it was. Yes. How do I see this one going? Well, if you look at it from an Ipswich point of view, you come up to the Premier League, you get your fixture list, and you suddenly see Liverpool at home and Manchester City away in the first two. Not ideal whatsoever. However, that's just what happens sometimes. To take it back, coming from League One to the Championship to the Premier League in 2 seasons is fantastic. Back-to-back promotions under Kieran McKenna. And I enjoyed the Ipswich journey from League One to the Premier League. I saw them last season play AFC Wimbledon in the FA Cup. We won't mention AFC Wimbledon again in this video after recent events. And look, the way they lined up against Manchester City with Amari Hutchinson and Sammy Swanwick just behind Liam Delap. Incredibly exciting attack, I think. You also add in Calvin Phillips, who obviously couldn't play against Manchester City due to being on loan from Manchester City. And you've got the likes of Luongo and Morsey in midfield. Johnson, of course, signed from West Ham, and Leif Davis, always a threat. We saw that last season. And then obviously the back three, new signing Jacob Greaves, Wolfenden and Tunezave, and then of course new signing Muric in goal. Who we know what happened with Muric on Saturday, and that was unfortunate. A couple of mistakes, and if Fulham can press high, then maybe put that keeper under a bit of pressure yet again, and there might be some jitters from the Ipswich fans. From a Fulham point of view, this is how we lined up against. Well, in the last 2 games, we've had the same team in the Premier League with Leno in goal, back four of Robinson, Diop, Bassi, and Tete, Lukic, Andres Pereira, Emil Smith-Rowe, Adama Traore, and Alex Iwobi up front, Rodrigo Muniz. And do I expect Fulham to be unchanged? I think it's a formula that's working. It's interesting when we played that lineup away from home against United and at home against Leicester. Against Leicester, we had much more control of the game. United obviously had their qualities, and we tried to pick them off, and probably should have done better in those attacking when we had those attacks. I do think that we will probably stick with the same. Sander Berge came into the club and he played 65 minutes against Birmingham midweek and was okay. George Cuenca made his debut as well. I mean, there was 11 changes in the week. I do expect Fulham to revert back to that 11. And then once we have the international break, we might start to see the integration of Sander Berge into the first team, of Joachim Andersen into the first team ahead of the Premier League game against West Ham. So how do I see this one going? I think it's going to be very tricky in terms of the crowd will be well up for it. I mean, it's the first Premier League game where Ipswich fans will genuinely believe they can get something from the game. I thought they played well against Liverpool at times in the first half, for sure. And against Manchester City, of course, took the lead. We've taken the lead at Man City, and like Ipswich, it lasted less than 2 minutes in the FA Cup a few years ago. So I completely sympathise with the Ipswich fans there. How do I see this one going? I think it's going to be a tough battle. I think both teams will score. I think Fulham will win. I think there's enough quality. You look at the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Alex Iwobi, the way they link up. Robinson on the left-hand side with the overlapping runs, crosses into the box. Muniz is due a goal, and I think a goal is coming based off his performance last week. And to wrap this up before we hit the 5-minute mark, I will say Fulham will win this by 2-1. Fulham will go into a 2-goal lead, and Ipswich will get a goal back, and it'll be a little bit nervy. And I think Fulham will see it out. I like Kieran McKenna's team. I want them to do well. I want them to make a fight of it. And I definitely think that once Ipswich get their feet under the table in the Premier League, they'll start picking up some points. But I do back Fulham. I've got to back my team. So I'm going to go with Ipswich 1, Fulham 2. Thank you very much for having me on the channel. Good luck. May the best team win. And I'm sure we'll speak soon when we play at the Cottage. Thank you.